Hey guys, how are you doing? Here is another video. I just wanted to talk about a few things that I've learned since I've worked in the corporate world, and one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned was about time management. Actually, here in the Philippines, we have this thing called Filipino time. I was so into it before all the time. But to start this off, like when you're young and you gotta do things in life, you usually have to you have to go to school. You have time to play and all this stuff. You really don't have any sense of time other than the fact that you're being pulled here and there to do things when you're growing up. And like when you go to school, it's more of like the class is pulling you to attend the class, or it's a requirement, which is not necessarily something you like unless you really like studying and stuff. But usually for me it was like, okay, we had to go and do this thing because my parents said it had to be done. You have to go to school to study and you have to get to class on time. It's more of a requirement. It's not something that comes from within, right? So that's when you're young. So that my concept of time before was something that is not fixed in my mind, I guess. So it's something that you have to get to do things day to day. It's more about your parents' goals and aspirations for you. Then later on in life, when I entered some organizations in college as well as in high school, well, those are like required also. You're supposed to do, although some of you might think, okay, these are interesting for you. It was interesting for me also, but again, it still ties around, you need to get these electives in place or take these organizations so that you get a better review for going to college. Or, well, I took some sports also, and of course you have to get to the practice on time, but it still wasn't as ingrained in my mind as to how to manage your time. And there's no like sense of training. There was no training before in school during my time when it comes to time at all. And actually the only time that we started to get some training was back in college, during college days for officers. If you're an officer in an organization, then you get some sort of training, right? But in any case, regardless of school and that stuff, in the Philippines we have Filipino time. So a lot of times when you attend a party or when they say you're supposed to arrive at this time, I usually before would end up going like an hour after because it's supposed to be fashionably late. It's kind of accepted that way to come late to parties or not so serious events. It's okay to come late, even like weddings and stuff. Although they say this a particular time, then usually there's like a unspoken grace period that 1 hour is still okay, So I guess it depends per culture, right? On dealing with like social activities, whether you come on time or not. And a lot of times, like if it were like a formal activity, like a meeting at work or whatnot, usually like at the end of when it's supposed to end at this particular time, then as a Filipino before, I would hate to say, hey, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I have to go to something else. I would hate to do that. And I think a lot of other Filipinos would think that way too. I don't want to disappoint my host that I have to leave already or whatnot. Actually, I'm glad that there's something called a French exit, and I would always make a French exit at events or whatnot. Just disappear. No need to tell anybody that you're leaving or whatnot. Besides, after a while, people who are there will probably forget that are too busy talking with other people and socializing that they'll forget that you were there at all. Unless you were like socializing with them and talking with them, or they wanted to talk with you, then you spend a lot of time talking with them, right? But a lot of times, as a Filipino, I don't want to disappoint people that I'm leaving or I'm leaving early or whatnot. Even for formal meetings before, I would be just shy about saying, hey, I'm gonna leave early or whatnot, you know. It's only when I started working in a particular company, an American company, that I realized how important it is to be on time, you know. I keep on saying, you know. I'm looking at my notes here. So, okay. So actually, when I started to work in an American company, they gave us a lot of training on time management and stuff like that. They would give us this diary planner, which everyone in the company had, as well as lots of training on time. The diary and planner had some training on time, and then over a couple of months and years, then I started to get my own way of how to do things, right? But in essence, the basic things about time management are all about some tools you can use, the thinking, your way of thinking, the tools you can use, and then putting it all together. So I'm just giving my tips on how I manage my time, how I learned to manage time. So the first thing I learned from that company or through their training was the fact that, you know, you own your own time. You have time, your own self, and you need to respect your own time. As we're growing up and forming our own essence of ourselves and what we want, what we like, what we dislike, what our dreams are, what our goals are in life, you know, you realize you only have 24 hours a day, and then within those 24 hours you have some hours for sleeping and then other hours for doing your chores, and then what's left is really what you can put in for work or for achieving your goals, right? So you need to recognize that you have your own time, and the more you don't respect your own time, the more you won't reach your goals, whatever they may be. Goals at work, goals with life, goals with your family, goals with whatever, you know. And it makes sense that, you know, you need to respect your own time and call it out if people don't respect your time. So if people come late for something that you scheduled, you need to discreetly, you know, call that out to them. I'll probably have another video about that, but you need to call this out to people, and you need to look at yourself and say, hey, my time is important. I need to make sure that I deal and manage with my time properly, so that other people will see that I'm managing my time, and they might want to do that too. So the next thing is, after you really realize, you know, you need to manage your time, because there are certain things you want to do in life, and you can only do those things in life later on if you're able to do the small little things in life that you need to do so you can get to that bigger stuff in life, right? The next thing is really respecting other people's time. So aside from your time, you know, what really matters is also respecting other people's time and letting them know that you respect it, because we work with each other and we have no other choice but to work with other people, right? So you have to make sure to respect their time too. People are busy doing their stuff also, they're trying to reach their goals. There are people who might be lazy and eating into your time or don't always come late, then you just need to call it out. And a lot of times I realized, okay, they have time also. So at that point in time when I realized about this, I don't want to waste people's time also. I don't want to waste people's time. I have respect for their time. So when they say they want me to get there at a particular time, then I'll get there at a particular time, right? Unless they say that, you know, oh, you can come about, you know, 9ish. If they say it like that, then of course between 9 and 10 is okay, and they're more flexible when it comes to the time, right? So, but when it comes to serious stuff, then of course I would try to always come on time and respect other people's time as well. I wonder how many times I've said time in this video about time. Anyway, and of course the third thing you have to realize is, you know, people depend on you to do things, and then you depend on people. So it's best to really look at time as a resource, not as something that you can just do away with. It's very important to other people. It's important to you. So you need to make and meet commitments, and then when you make the commitment, a commitment also deals with time. So if you're going to commit to do something on Monday, then make sure you do it on Monday. If you commit to do it on Sunday at 7 p.m., then you make sure to commit at 7 p.m. because people are going to do something with that, whatever that output is in the next step. They're going to do something with it, right? So if you're working at work and you're part of a chain of supplying something to an ultimate end customer, then you need to make sure to focus on that, right? Ultimately, we're all helping each other. Everybody is a customer of someone else, and then you're a supplier of someone else. So we need to respect that, the chain itself, because down the line it's going to affect someone else. Okay, I'm done talking about, just the internal stuff about yourself, learning about yourself and how important time is. And then you have the time of others, right? That you have to respect. And then down the line, all of these are all connected ultimately to whoever out there is going to receive whatever through these, input outputs of each other. As long as you respect time to complete something, then someone else is going to be able to do what they're committed to other people, and then down the line, right? Then we look at ways, I looked at ways on how we can better manage the time, because we only have 24 hours a day, and of course a few hours of that is for sleeping, right? So one way of managing time is really delegating work to others. So because you can't do everything, if someone has time, then why don't you just delegate to them if they're willing to do it? So people who work for you, make them do the work, ask them to do the work for you. Of course, if you have outsourcing whatever, then of course you can get them to do it. It's the same as delegating, right? There might be friends who are more skilled at doing something and can do it faster, so get them to do it, right? So in other words, delegate to someone else, or outsource it, or ask someone to help do it, right? And of course you have to thank them for it because they did it, right? A lot of times you just realize, wow, I'm not so skilled at doing something, so I might as well get someone else to do it, right? So what you can do is delegate that workout. Or ask someone nicely to do it, right? Because delegating is, I think it's a word used typically for work, right? The next thing you can do is, I realized one thing at work. I learned from one of my managers there that you can go crazy by yourself trying to prioritize everything that needs to be done, but ultimately you're also producing an output for your boss. So you need to work with your boss to prioritize your workload. You might get a lot of people coming to you to do work, and they all need to be aligned to what your boss is trying to do as well. So, and support your boss. So it's good that if you can't prioritize things yourself, then you can ask your boss to help prioritize things. What I usually do is prioritize things high, medium, low, and if you still need another thing that prioritizes the high things, is then you have to make something like critical, right? So, and then you'll know what to do from the first to the last task that needs to be done. So you need to prioritize. Actually, what I consider as high and critical is you must do, you have no other choice but to do. Then the low priority items are the ones that are nice to have. Right? It's not going to make much impact. It may have some impact, but it's just nice to have. So you have to rank everything according to that. Make one single list of all your priorities. After making the critical, high, medium, lows, then you rank the high, medium, lows within the high, the first one, second, third, fourth, like that, and then you can sort them out according to the beginning to the last. Of course, if you have a boss, then you have to make sure that's the right priority, right? I'm not saying you put all your tasks out there. You should put like the major items that need to be done in general. Like if it's something about the different projects you manage, then of course you make a priority list on the projects that you manage. Like this project is H1, high priority 1, then this is also high, but this is second priority, right? And then you can do that. Or if you're task based and you have regular tasks that you do all the time, then you can make something like that. Another thing you can do is really automate wherever you can. You know, there are these, you can use email, you can use calendars, you can use other tools, SMS to automate and remind yourself on what to prioritize. Use Excel even to list down all your tasks and everything that you need to do so that you can prioritize what you need to prioritize. Usually I have my calendar where I book my meetings, and that usually reminds me if I need to go to another meeting. I set like 30 minutes and 15 minutes before to remind myself that, hey, I need to get to the next meeting, you know. And what else do I use? Email. I don't use email to remind myself of the next meeting, but you can do that. You can set up some reminders if you'd like that. But usually I just use my calendar because on my phone I have Google Calendar, and that actually allows me to remind myself when my meetings are all the time. Okay. Oh, actually that's tied into the next one I want to talk to. You really need a calendar to set up to manage your time, and Google Calendar is amazing because you're able to set up reminders, you can set up things happening regularly all the time, and you can clearly see on your phone when things are, and it syncs up with your computer, your phone all the time. So I used to have that planner I mentioned earlier before. It was really helpful, but it was very cumbersome because you have to even transfer the tasks on a day-to-day basis, right? To the following day and then prioritize again. But with Google Calendar, the calendar has the calendar with your meetings that you can move around. The tasks myself these days, yeah, I would put them in those ABCs kind of things also. But there's another tip which I've used back in the work I used to do. They taught us something to manage all our objectives properly, so maybe I'll talk about that another time. Right? And of course, now you have your calendar up and you have your reminders all in place, then of course you have to make sure that when you go to these meetings, you need to plan ahead. A lot of times people don't plan ahead and they come late. That's the problem. So you should know the traffic situation, where the meeting is, which building, etc. Know it ahead of time so you'll know what time you need to leave accordingly from a previous meeting, right? And then, okay. Oh, what's great is the phones these days, because of technology, all the phones connect with some universal time out there, so that we all have the same time, regardless of where you are in what country. Your phones, if it's connected to the internet, will connect and show the real time, the actual time. So it's really great. And there are tools online that show what time the other person's at. Actually, if you use Google Calendar and you're making a meeting with someone else in another country, they will see it in their calendar in the appropriate time. So you don't have to actually remind them what time it is. And when you make a Google Calendar, it will actually send an email to your invitees. So you have to add the emails of your invitees in the Google Calendar and then get them to check out that calendar invite, and they'll see the actual time in their calendar as well. So it's really great that we have these phones these days which have various calendar apps, and it's able to show you, get rid of the when we misunderstand each other, when it's PST, UST, Mountain Time, Eastern European Standard Time, UK time, you get confused with all those things. But Google Calendar really helps do that, fix it up, right? And then what else is there? Okay. Oh, and one more thing is, you need to make sure to have proper communications when it comes to time. You need to let people know. What I usually do is before I mentioned before that, I would tell people that when people say please stay, but then I'll say okay, I'll stay for a bit longer. Then 15 minutes passes, 30 minutes passes, then I realize, oh my gosh, I'm late for the next meeting. So that was Filipino time before, but now it's better that if it's something important, you better let people know ahead of time that you'll be leaving so and so at a particular time, so that no one will be surprised that you're going to leave already, or you're going to tell them you're going to French exit. That's fine, right? And then of course, what's another great thing to do is to tell the person if you have a meeting that and you're arriving late, you need to just let them know ahead of time so that they don't keep on wondering or they're surprised that you're late or whatever. So that's what I usually do. I always tell people that I'm late. I'll be late for about 15 minutes. I'll arrive there at 3:10. So at least they don't have to keep on waiting. They can do other stuff and not be anxious or whatnot. Anyway, because of this time management thing, then I usually always try to be on time with every meeting that I attend. After that American company I joined a Filipino company. Then that was 17 years in an American company, and then I joined a Filipino company, and I got a cultural shock because everyone's always late in that company. I won't mention that company, but they're always late. It's a Filipino company, and I'm wondering, are all Filipino companies always late all the time? I entered sort of the service industry also, and everyone is always late. And I feel like outside of the companies I've worked for, that American company, everyone in the Philippines is always late all the time. Aside from going to school, everyone's on time in school because you have to go to school on time and there are penalties. But it seems like it's an accepted culture in the Philippines that people are late. Unless you are, it's a multinational company or it's run by someone who has worked in an American company or knows about time management, then people are on time. But I think it's getting better these days. I hope. But that's why I made this video, because I want people to be on time all the time. And people are not usually on time. So anyway, I just want to sum up this thing. Respecting what's important is to respect your own time, and at the same time respect other people's time. Because, gosh, we're not going to be alive for long. Gosh, I'm so old already. So how are you going to be able to get your work done, help other people get their work done, how to live your life with other people in a very respectful and timely manner, and without lots of excuses of, I was late because they told me to stay longer. You need to fix that in your life, and I did fix that in my life. There are lots of tools out there to help us to manage time at work. Basically at work, there are lots of tools you can use. So find out what the latest tools are for time management, whether it be it's an alarm or a calendar you can use, And then, you need to set an example for other people out there, whether it be the Filipino or other countries or other people, regardless of whatever race you are. Help out each other to be on time more. I know in our country the traffic is really terrible. So it's better to plan ahead and let people know that you're going to be late if you're going to be late. Or factor in the time you'll be late so that you'll arrive on time, right? If you're going to go to, for example, BGC, it used to take 20 minutes before, but now it takes half an hour to get there. So you plan it for leave half an hour earlier to get to the meeting on time, right? And well, you need to call it out to people. If people are really always late, you need to call it out in private. Tell them, I know you're late, but tell them how you feel. I'm very disappointed. I thought you'll arrive on time because I made it on time. You have to tell them so they'll understand how important time is for you. Don't just hide it, And so that's all I wanted to share, because I'm really, I'm a worrywart when it comes to time. Time is very important to me, and I hope time is important to you. I'll respect your time. Please respect my time too. I know it's a hard thing. Coming from a Filipino background, oh my God, always being late, my gosh. It was a regular thing for me before, and I really didn't care. Because people allowed it. people allowed people to have some grace period before a meeting started, and it happened in the Filipino company also. You know, it's okay that people are late because they had to finish some stuff in the other meeting also, right? So, but then this culture can, this type of thinking continues, and it's really bad, right? You need to prioritize during a meeting also. You need to prioritize what you need to discuss. Although I didn't talk about that, but you need to prioritize the things you need to discuss also, because you can't keep on talking and talking and talking and then let everybody become late for the next meeting, right? Oh, anyway, sorry for ranting, but that was my pet peeve before. And you know, I was looking back at my life before, and I was really a person who was always late all the time. So anyway, I hope you learned something. And well, they didn't teach this back in college to the general public. It was usually more to the officers and stuff. So I hope you learn something new, and I hope that we can get rid of this mentality about being late is okay. Being late is not okay. And it's better to be on time so that you respect other people's time. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Guys, take care and have a great day. Chat with you again soon.